In the most melodramatic year of my youth, I strode up to the desk of a destitute genius, a bag of cash in hand, and declared in a voice strained with bravado, "Be my subordinate. And all this money shall be yours." Behind me, the piercing shrieks of my classmates erupted like a cacophony. My vision was flooded with a barrage of comments. Haha, I can't breathe. This ridiculous female supporting character has been flirting with the male lead for a few days, just to make him jealous, provoking the story's most formidable antagonist. The crux of the matter is that the male lead only engaged with her to annoy the female protagonist, yet she took it to heart. What does she think she is? Haha, moreover, the antagonist has fallen for the female lead and, upon embracing darkness, intends to eliminate everyone who has obstructed the female lead's happiness. Due to today's events, the antagonist has taken a particular interest in the foolish supporting character, imprisoning her in a dungeon, gradually tormenting her. I stood there, utterly bewildered, scratching my head in confusion. What are they chattering about? How could a genius possibly be the villain? Just look at that supporting character, so robust now, yet by the end, she will weigh barely 80 pounds, someone remarked. Stop spoiling it, you villain. 80 pounds. As a person of a substantial 150 pounds, I felt myself crumble at this revelation. My grandmother, with her hearty meals of rice and meat, had nourished me to such a robust state. How dare they suggest I lose weight? That would indeed be villainous. 01. The once white school uniform hung loosely on Shin-yubai, appearing rather vacant. His slender fingers rested on the English textbook, and his pale, gaunt face bore a pair of eyes that glared at me with a menacing intensity, reminiscent of my family's pig when it yearned to nudge someone. The thought of a tragic fate weighing over 80 kilograms made my mind whirl, and I finally devised an escape plan. That was just a joke. My dad said if I don't get into university, I'll have to go home and feed pigs. I was hoping to hire you to tutor me. I truly desire to improve, hee. The screen was flooded with ha ha ha. I was perplexed by the barrage of messages and turned around to see my classmates doubled over with laughter. Tao Lele, I think you've taken the wrong medicine. You want to improve? That would be like a sow climbing a tree. The ringleader of the mockery was Zhang Xiaoling, one of my bitter rivals. 02. She had spent 2 years ardently pursuing the campus heartthrob, Lu Yuanji. Yet, merely a month after my transfer, I had successfully intercepted him. Zhang Xiaoling's words ignited another wave of laughter. Brothers, even the last in the rankings wants to study. We better step up before Tao Lele surpasses us. She's not striving for improvement. She's merely making a fool of herself to attract Lu Yuanji's attention. Perhaps she genuinely wishes to support Shin-yubai. He's so poor he can barely afford to eat, living on just 2 steamed buns per meal. Better to stick with Tao Lele. Her family has plenty of pork. When Wang Cheng spoke, his beady eyes and sly demeanor were truly repugnant. Shin-yubai's face flushed slightly, his right hand gripping the pen until his fingertips turned white. The barrage of comments continued to scroll. Oh dear, Shin-yubai 1T turned dark ahead of time, will he? I somewhat look forward to a deranged and sinister male character making an appearance. You upstairs, that's a bit perverse, but I'm looking forward to it, haha. I relish thrilling narratives, waiting for the villain to torment the female supporting character. After all, she's obstructing the leads. My head throbbed, wondering why the comments couldn't wait until I was dead. If this world were truly a novel, it surely favored male characters excessively. If Lu Yuanji truly loved the female lead, why had he never spoken to me, allowing me to win him over within a month, albeit only for 3 days? Why bother with me? 03. Wang Cheng, with that sardonic tone of yours, are you secretly in love with me? I boldly challenged Wang Cheng, causing his face to redden. Tao Lele, you're far too narcissistic. Only a blind person would fancy you. Look at you. You're as fat as a pig. So you're saying Lu Yuanji is blind? Are the 2 holes beneath his eyebrows just for breathing? Wang Cheng, fearing Lu Yuanji's wrath, waved his hands in a hasty explanation. Yuanzi, I misspoke. I shot a glare at Lu Yuanji, that pretentious scoundrel, straddling 2 boats. Lu Yuanji remained seated against the wall, observing the spectacle with a cold gaze, and his expression darkened. Tao Lele, have you had enough of your antics? Sit back down. I glanced at the empty seat beside him, unwilling to move an inch. I regretted being assigned as his deskmate on my first day of transfer. Seeing me stubbornly unmoving, Lu Yuanji assumed I was still sulking. Tao Lele, if you 04. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by the usually taciturn Shin-yubai. All right, Lele. I am willing to tutor you. His cool, clear voice resonated. However, I do not want your money. He extended his slender hand, pushing the wad of cash towards me. Wow, the entire class transformed into a pack of curious onlookers. What is happening here? What could possibly be happening? It's a show. A foolish underachiever and a financially struggling genius, a mutual endeavor, a group of boys jeered. Their contemptible expressions were truly irritating. I couldn't help but spread my arms and retort, oh dear, how sour. The underachiever is wealthier than you, and the genius outperforms you in academics. Doesn't that irk you? Morning reading time, what is all this ruckus? Do you find studying too easy? The homeroom teacher entered. Everyone quickly sat up straight. The screeching of chairs scraping the floor was soon drowned by the sound of reading. I remained standing foolishly. 05, Tao Lele, why is it always you? The homeroom teacher's eyes widened in fury as she pointed a finger at me. I skillfully lowered my head, bracing for her to utter. A single mouse droppings ruins a pot of porridge. To my surprise, the exquisite porridge spoke on my behalf. Teacher, could you let Tao Lele sit next to me? I will help her with her studies. Shinyubai's voice, though soft, reached every ear in the classroom. She said. The youth lowered his head and pressed his lips together. If she fails to get into university, she can only return to feed pigs. The homeroom teacher doubted her hearing and confirmed again. Shinyubai affirmed, Teacher, rest assured, I will not let it affect my studies. His sincerity was palpable. If my father were present, he would surely be moved to tears. 06. My father had gone to great lengths, leveraging connections and using his cash skills, to enroll me in this renowned key high school. He often repeated his heartfelt plea, Daughter, this is the money your mother and I earned through arduous labor raising pigs. We hope you can take a stand, get into a good university, and bring honor to the Tao family. Hilarious. A poor student mingling among the academic elite, comfortably sitting at the bottom of the class. I was a disappointment. Was it that I didn't want to strive? The homeroom teacher scrutinized me suspiciously. Tao Lele. Do you truly wish to attend university? Cornered, I could only nod earnestly. Teacher, I genuinely want to improve. A small yellow bean cried. Once I settled next to Shinyubai, that infernal barrage reappeared. Ha ha ha, female supporting character, you're in for it. This must be the first step in the villainess entrapment. Not afraid of a deranged abuser, just wary of a high IQ psychopath. Surround and slowly kill, a perverse plot. So anticipated. 111 in the sweltering summer, I felt a chill run down my spine. The fierce girl was on the verge of tears. 07. If what they said were true, my life would be forfeit, and I wouldn't get to savor red braised pig trotters, soy sauce pork knuckles, marinated chicken feet, or braised beef. What should I do? Perhaps I should transfer again? No way. My father would surely beat me to it. I was on the verge of tears. Just as I was scratching my head, Shinyubai instructed, Open your book. Oh. I obediently opened the English textbook, but after merely 2 lines, I dreamt of my grandmother waving at me from the pages. Good child, the red braised pig trotters are ready. Eat while they're hot. Thud. My head collided with the desk, and I rubbed my forehead, wiping away the drool. Shinyubai looked at me with a complex expression. 08, Shin. Can I not study anymore? The lean youth furrowed his brow. What did you mean this morning? Such a handsome person even had an elegant frown. I was lost in my infatuation, but the insufferable barrage was too loud. Oh, silly girl, quickly tell him you're just teasing him, that way. He won't supervise your studies. Haha, the upstairs is truly malicious. The villain just needs a reason to turn dark, and if Tao Lele dares to say that, she's probably done for. No, let me watch their interaction a little longer. Don't rush the progress. Ding ding ding. The bell rang for class to end, sounding like a heavenly melody. Oh no, my stomach hurts. I need to visit the restroom. I clutched my stomach and dashed out of the classroom, slipping past Liu Yuanji, who attempted to grab my wrist. My hefty frame of 150 pounds successfully sent him crashing against the wall. 09. Throughout the morning S4 classes. Shinyubai did not inquire about that question again. Due to my drowsiness, I received countless nudges from him, and after class, I still had to listen to him explain the problems, leaving me utterly bewildered. At noon, I made my way to the cafeteria, balancing a heaping tray filled to the brim, and joined a few friendly girls at an empty table. Just as I was about to share my grievances with them, my gaze fell upon Shinyubai, seated in a corner of the dining hall. His tray contained merely 2 plain buns. accompanied by a cup with a lid that had already turned yellow. I had heard that Shin Yubai was orphaned, living with relatives until he entered high school. When he finally moved into the dormitory, as the top student in his grade, his tuition was waived, and the school even provided him with a scholarship. Though modest, it shouldn't necessitate a meal of just 2 buns. The others followed my line of sight, and one girl exclaimed, "Wow, Yubai is truly impressive. He survives on just 2 buns while effortlessly outshining everyone in his studies." Another girl chimed in, "Maybe we eat too much, which is why our grades don't match up. Should we also eat just 2 buns?" She playfully tapped her head. "Silly, he saves all his money for study materials, while you haven't even finished the practice papers given by the school." "Oh, I see. No wonder he was as thin as a bamboo pole." My grandmother often remarked that I had a big heart, able to forget the gravest of matters after just a brief outburst, returning to my cheerful self in no time. She also believed that girls with big hearts were fortunate. It was only after starting school that I learned others referred to this as being foolish. I returned to the food counter and loaded my tray with braised pork, cola chicken wings, marinated chicken legs, and sauced beef, stacking it high before taking a seat across from Shin Yubai. "Hey, table mate," I called out. Shin Yubai paused, holding his bun, nodded slightly, and resumed his meal without looking up at me. I picked up one of his remaining buns, grinning as I said, "I forgot to buy a staple. Could you spare me one?" He glanced at the rice on my tray with surprise. "Oh, I'm practicing leg exercises tonight and need to replenish my carbs. I'll trade you for some of my veggies." Before he could respond, I scooped a generous portion of the meat dishes onto his plate. "Hee, I'm on a diet. The coach says I can't eat too much. Please help me out." I felt anxious and awkward, fearing that any misstep in my words might be misconstrued as an affront to his pride. Shin Yubai kept his head bowed, revealing his slender neck, his skin even fairer than mine, an envious sight indeed. He didn't refuse, quietly finishing the meat on his plate, obedient and endearing like a little puppy. How could someone like him ever turn dark? I wished I could drag the author out and give them a good thrashing. "Lele," Shin Yubai's voice was slightly hoarse. "Huh? Thank you." His eyes sparkled, and I could have sworn I saw a hint of red at the corners. "Oh no, I should be thanking you. It's my fault for having such a big appetite. My grandma always says we shouldn't waste food, or we'll squander our good fortune. Having you around is my good fortune." I blurted out, immediately feeling embarrassed as my cheeks flushed. In my attempts to win over Lu Yuanji, I had absorbed countless cheesy pickup lines, which now slipped out too easily. "Tao Lele, can you have some dignity?" Lu Yuanji's teeth-gritted voice startled me from behind. "Lu Yuanji, are you out of your mind? Eavesdropping on others?" He grabbed my wrist and pulled me towards the exit of the cafeteria. Ridiculous. Did he think my 150 pounds of weight was for nothing? I forcefully wrenched my arm free and brushed against him as if he were tainted. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why the hands-on approach?" My actions infuriated the school's golden boy. With his aloof demeanor and the halo of a leading man, a throng of girls surrounded him. Today, being publicly rejected by me felt akin to being slapped in the face. "Tao Lele, you're so petty. I merely watched a movie with Mo Ching. Does that warrant your repeated outbursts?" Lin Ma Ching, of course, was the female lead, the beauty from the neighboring school. At this point, I needed to clarify matters to prevent Lu Yuanji from further pestering me. "Lu Yuanji, do you really think so highly of yourself?" I declared. Our relationship was merely a misunderstanding, and now that it's cleared up, I understand my allure, but I hope you can forget me swiftly. Furthermore, I simply have a preference for handsome boys. I've noticed that Shin Yubai is taller, better looking, and outperforms you academically. I'm not foolish. One seeks the best trees to roost upon. Lu Yuanji's face flushed with anger, his lips trembling. "Fine, great. Wonderful." He stormed off. Absurd. If you ask me, men ought to read more. Relying on looks won't last forever. I grumbled, intending to invite Shin Yubai back to the classroom with me. Upon turning, I caught a glimpse of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth, and at the moment our eyes met, he returned to his usual demeanor. At that moment, the barrage of comments resumed. Oh my, the villain's gaze just now was terrifying, as if he wanted to tear the male lead apart. He wouldn't fall in love with the female supporting character, would he? Impossible. Yes, probably contemplating how the male lead uses the female supporting character to harm the female lead and is plotting revenge. Exactly. That female supporting character is truly foolish. relying on a single meal to expect the villain to spare her. Forgive her, her intellect can't keep up, and she's left with nothing but appetite. The barrage was truly vexing, reminding me of my grandmother. When I was young, while my parents were busy raising pigs, they neglected my upbringing. And it was my grandmother who nurtured me. She pampered me into a plump little girl, and everyone who saw would exclaim, "This chubby girl is so fortunate." Whenever I threw a tantrum, my grandmother would whip up delicious meals in various ways. Braised pig trotters, tender and succulent, were so delectable that I could devour 3 large bowls of rice in one sitting. Sweet and sour ribs, coated in glistening sauce, made me want to swallow my fingers too. And then there were the spicy pork knuckles and crispy 5-spice pork belly she made. My grandmother would say, "You must eat well. When you're full and satisfied, no obstacle is insurmountable." The mischievous children in the village would mock me as a fat pig. And my grandmother would chase them down the street with her broom, only to return home and hold me tightly. "My dear, listen to your grandmother. Don't worry about losing weight. A girl should eat more meat to grow tall and avoid being bullied. Now, have another bite." I heeded her words, growing to a height of 172 meters, and after moving to the city, I even learned martial arts, developing a strong physique. Alas, my grandmother would never see me again. 5 years ago, she fell gravely ill, and before she passed, her warm palm caressed my face as she said, "My dear, remember to eat well. If you lose a pound, I want to allow it." She didn't forget to remind my parents. "You too haven't looked after her these years. She's endured a lot of hardships with me, so you must never let my dear suffer again." With my grandmother's protection, I had never truly experienced hardship. I sniffled softly. Shin Yubai gazed in the direction where Lu Yuanji had vanished, his expression a mix of emotions. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I just suddenly miss my grandmother." He seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and cautiously remarked, "Your grandmother must be an incredible person." "Yes," I nodded emphatically. "She is the best person in the world." My grandmother's braised pig trotters are far tastier than the cafeteria's. When the opportunity arises, I'll make some for you. I summoned my courage and gave Shin Yubai a light pat on the shoulder. He stumbled slightly from my touch, his cheeks flushing as he nodded, resembling a bashful young bride. The sight stirred my heart. How could the author portray such a character as a villain? Shin Yubai was clearly a delicate flower, deserving of compassion. He didn't think me foolish, repeatedly explaining concepts to me despite his handsome visage. Whether I comprehended it was another matter entirely. That Lu Yuanji, with his sour expression, looked utterly ridiculous. And yet, a throng of readers mindlessly adored him. Who has to say who is foolish? I pouted at the barrage of comments, which erupted into chaos. "Nima," Tao Lele made a face at us. "Surely she can't hear us, right? Impossible. She must have watched too many horror films upstairs. If she could see us, would she dare to film Shin Yubai? That would be courting death." Shin Yubai, being a person so starved for affection, is incredibly sensitive. "Tao Lele, if you can see us, blink your eyes." I refused to blink. However, the barrage of comments did remind me. Shin Yubai is indeed lacking in love. But that's all right. I am overflowing with love. Love is akin to nurturing flowers, quite fitting, isn't it? How could someone who is nurtured by love possibly turn dark? In the days that followed, I adopted the mannerisms of my grandmother and began to shower Shin Yubai with affection from all angles. "Classmate, come, open your mouth wide," I said, holding a piece of pork floss cake, feeding it to Shin Yubai. His face turned as red as a peach, and he dodged, resembling a monk facing the temptation of a succubus. "Lele, please don't do that. Then eat it yourself, or let me feed you." He pinched a piece of bread and nibbled on it. I felt quite pleased, thinking to myself, look at you, still unable to resist me. When it was time for meals, I insisted on sitting with him, treating him to all 3 meals a day. Shin Yubai, in return, bombarded me with all sorts of challenging knowledge, calculus, Lenz's law, non-finite verbs. "This question has appeared many times. Try solving it again." I must say, he possesses remarkable patience. When he explained concepts, he was entirely different from his usual self, effortlessly navigating through the material. Perhaps it was the beauty of the sunset, the afterglow filtering through his hair, transforming into starlight that fell upon his profile. Or perhaps I was so engrossed in my studies that I was spellbound. "Shin Yubai, you are so handsome," I exclaimed, my face flushed with infatuation. resting one hand on my cheek while the other brushed against his. His skin was surprisingly smooth. Shin Yubai's face turned even redder than the fiery clouds outside. Spreading all the way to his ears. Focus on your studies. He lightly tapped my head with his pen. My grandmother speaks to me just like you do when trying to coax me to eat. Indeed. Being the top student in the grade is no small feat under Shin Yubai's guidance. I surprisingly improved by over 10 places in the final exam. My father was overjoyed, practically leaping into the air. Before night fell, he burned paper offerings for my grandmother, sobbing profusely. "Oh my dear, it must be your spirit guiding her from above. Lele has finally awakened her potential, improving by over 10 places. Dear, please continue to bless her. That our family might produce a genuine university student. If she can improve this much today, surely she will dare to aim for Tsinghua or Peking University tomorrow. Father. That's enough theatrics." I lightly cleared my throat and smiled awkwardly at Shin Yubai, who had come over as a guest. Upon learning of my academic progress, my parents invited Shin Yubai over for dinner to express their gratitude. As we approached the entrance, Shin Yubai looked at our 3-story villa with a hint of awkwardness and incredulously asked me, "Lele, didn't you say your family runs a pig farm? How could you afford to buy a standalone villa in such an expensive neighborhood?" I scratched my head sheepishly. "Well, my dad does raise pigs. And it just so happened that he struck it rich. He even turned it into a publicly listed company." Shin Yubai, observing my father's antics, unconsciously loosened his grip on his school uniform pants. My mother, feeling embarrassed, chuckled awkwardly. "Student Shin, please don't mind him. He's just being filial and usually isn't like this." She bent down to scold my father. "Shin Kaisen, stop howling. We have guests. Don't embarrass Lele." My father scrambled up from the floor, wiped his tears and snot, and took a good look at Shin Yubai, nearly startled. "This kid. Why is he so thin? Doesn't he eat regularly?" At his adolescent age, he is particularly sensitive. If not for the efforts I made over the past 6 months to feed him, he would be even thinner than he is now. Hearing this, Shin Yubai instinctively clutched at his school uniform pants. It was truly heart-wrenching to witness. My father added, "It must be because he's been helping Lele with her studies. He's worn himself out." "Dad," I exclaimed, jumping in frustration. My father disregarded my irritation and hugged Shin Yubai, leading him toward the dining room. "Student Shin, I really must thank you. You have no idea how many tutors I hired for Lele. Not only did her grades not improve, but she also scared them away. Student Shin, you are truly a benefactor to our family." My mother and I had grown accustomed to my father's incessant chatter and chose to ignore him. Nevertheless, Shin Yubai attentively responded to every word my father uttered. My father was filled with excitement. "You, my boy, appear quite refined, yet your words carry great depth. No wonder you are top of the grade. You have a bright future ahead." He slapped the table with his hand. "We seem to get along well. How about I adopt you as my godson?" Shin Yubai choked on his soup, coughing until his face turned crimson, and I quickly handed him a tissue. My mother's eyes rolled around as she smacked my father's shoulder. "Tao Kaisen, it's not even dark yet, and you're already daydreaming. This child is destined for Tsinghua or Peking University, aiming to be top of his class. Does our family even match up?" My father chuckled. Indeed, I was being presumptuous. I stood up and placed a piece of braised pig trotter onto Shin Yubai's plate. "My father is like this. Don't take it to heart. Eat some meat." My mother hurriedly added, "Yes, eat more. You really are too thin." This braised pig trotter, Lele didn't let the housekeeper touch it. She made it herself. Upon hearing this, Shin Yubai's eyes sparkled with delight. Truly enchanting. Halfway through the meal, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper informed me that a classmate was looking for me. I thought it was one of my friends inviting me out for a holiday outing, so I pushed my chair back and hurried outside. Upon reaching the courtyard, I was taken aback to see Lu Yuanji standing at my front gate. Previously, when I invited him over for dinner, he adamantly refused. Now, he showed up uninvited. I frowned and called out to him through the closed gate. "What do you want?" Lu Yuanji was quite displeased with my cold demeanor. "Is this how you're going to talk to me through the gate?" "So what?" I retorted. "Is it illegal?" Lu Yuanji was momentarily taken aback by my response and, in exasperation, said, "Tao Lele, you really are a dimwit. Don't think that just because you've improved by a few places, Shin Yubai will take a liking to you. I'm a guy. I know men best. He is aiming for Tsinghua or Peking University. If he s with you now, it's only for your money. He'll definitely dump you in the future. The long-awaited barrage of comments reappeared. Oh my goodness, the male lead is too kind. Actively warning the female antagonist to steer clear of danger. No wonder Lu Yuanji could be the male lead. Such a man brings a sense of security. He wants to wake the female antagonist up. But I wonder if the foolish girl can understand. I feel like he might be meddling too much. Just my personal opinion, no offense intended. Frustrated, I kicked a small stone in the courtyard, regretting stepping outside, yapping away. Why not just reimburse me some money? With that, I turned to leave, if I lingered any longer. The braised pig trotter would grow cold. Lu Yuanji, infuriated by my unyielding attitude, slammed his fist against my iron gate, creating a loud clang. Tao Lele. You'll have your moment of regret. Xin Yubai will turn out to be a gold digger. I halted in my tracks. How dare he insult my delicate flower, Lu Yuanji? Are you out of your mind? I see your jealousy of Xin Yubai, who is more handsome and academically superior to you, is making you slander him like a gossip monger. My relationship with Xin Yubai is none of your business. He may currently be short on cash, but that's no problem. Tao Lele, have plenty of money. And you? Besides having money, you are utterly useless. Oh, and your wealth doesn't even surpass mine. Blabbering at my doorstep, acting like a dog. My grandmother would say, insisting that when one curses, it must be done with vigor. Never should one echo the adversary's words. Instead, one should deftly strike at their vulnerabilities, leaving no room for retaliation. With my hands on my hips, I unleashed a torrent of words, causing Lu Yuanji's complexion to resemble that of a pig's liver. It was at this moment that Xin Yubai made his appearance. Lele, he called softly as he descended the steps, holding my coat, which he draped over my shoulders with care. Uncle and Auntie were worried you might catch a chill, so they sent me to check on you. His tone was calm, each word articulated with precision, his gaze shimmering with brilliance. Lu Yuanji, upon seeing Xin Yubai, looked as though he had encountered a ghost. Xin Yubai, what are you doing here? Have you met the parents? He exclaimed. Xin Yubai turned his gaze toward Lu Yuanji. Classmate Lu, please don't misunderstand. It was Uncle and Auntie who insisted I come, mentioning that Lele had prepared braised pig trotters for me. I simply couldn't refuse, he explained, his speech measured. But before he could finish, Lu Yuanji had stormed off in a huff. At that dinner, Xin Yubai unexpectedly agreed to my father's earlier invitation to stay at our home during the winter break to tutor me. Really? My mother exclaimed, rising from her chair in excitement. My father embraced Xin Yubai tightly. Good lad, I entrust my Lele to you. She struggles academically, so you'll have to bear with her. If she misbehaves, let me know and I shall see to it. Xin Yubai replied, Lele is quite intelligent. She simply hasn't applied herself to her studies before. A smile crept across my lips. This spring festival, Xin Yubai celebrated with my family. My parents presented us both with equally thick red envelopes, which Xin Yubai repeatedly declined, but was ultimately forced to accept by my father, who tucked it into his coat pocket. My mother had the cook prepare a variety of dishes daily, insisting on providing teacher Xin with proper nourishment. Throughout the holiday, Xin Yubai gained a noticeable amount of weight, appearing less gaunt than before. Look, this child has filled out a bit. He looks even better. My mother beamed with pride. Xin Yubai, feeling bashful under her gaze, sweetly thanked her for her care. This demeanor only endeared him to my mother further. On the eve of the new term, he gifted my parents with presents, initially fearing they might not appreciate them, but upon witnessing their delighted expressions, he visibly relaxed. And what about mine? I pouted, reaching out towards him. He gently tapped my palm, sending a delightful tingle through me, before retreating to his room. When he returned, he held a large box for me to unwrap. Inside, I found a pair of brand new red boxing gloves, adorned with colorful doodles of muscular little figures, their faces radiant with joy and their eyes curving in delight. I knew who they resembled, but I kept that to myself. Recently, I had taken up boxing and had brought him along twice during the break, lamenting my father's disapproval of my newfound passion. He says I'm training too vigorously and will scare all the boys away, I chuckled. His gift of boxing gloves was clearly a sign of his support. Lele, Xin Yubai suddenly declared, I can take a beating. As I tried on the gloves, I playfully shoved him, saying, with Tao Jia watching over you, who would dare to lay a hand on you? Shin Yubai pressed his lips together, as if he wished to say something but ultimately held his tongue. In the middle of the night, I suddenly sat up in bed and slapped myself across the face. Tao Lele, you have an astonishingly long reflex arc. Upon returning to school, a photograph was pinned to the top of the school forum. In the image, Shin Yubai and I were captured at a small eatery, with him wiping my mouth with a napkin. Somehow, it appeared as though we were kissing. The comments section erupted with fervor. Isn't this the renowned academic prodigy with the notorious slacker? How did they end up together? You don't know? The prodigy is being supported by the slacker, throwing down tens of thousands right on the prodigy's desk. No wonder the prodigy looks so much healthier. Guess he's living the good life now. I heard they're living together. The comments escalated, becoming increasingly twisted and vulgar. While no one mentioned names, our faces were unmistakably clear in the photograph. Enraged, I shouted in class, which scoundrel is spreading this filth? Step forward for a challenge. Shin Yubai's face strained of color as he stared at his phone, his lips trembling, drawing blood from his bite. I thought it wasn't worth getting so worked up over. It was a trivial matter, and I could easily find the instigator and settle it with a fight. However, when I saw the content on my phone, it felt as if a thunderclap had struck me, leaving me momentarily speechless. Another screenshot appeared on the forum, showcasing a sensational crime from years past. Wifely could no longer endure her husband's domestic violence and, in the dead of night, fatally stabbed him 17 times before taking her own life. Their 7-year-old son, who had stayed at a relative's house that night, became an orphan overnight. Accompanying this was a comment, "Folks, the prodigy is the son of a murderer." It was all too easy to crush someone as effortlessly as squashing an ant. Shin was from our hometown. He was a criminal long before he was even born. I heard his wife was unfaithful, and that's why he beat her. Well, she had it coming. The prodigy has certainly learned from the best, playing the seducer with finesse. And the slacker isn't any better. I heard she just got played by the school's heartthrob before running to the prodigy in less than 3 days. Heavens. I wouldn't want such a woman even if she were offered to me for free. Like filthy rats. These individuals believed that anonymity granted them the right to spew their vile remarks from the shadows. Shin Yubai's complexion turned ghostly, and he left the classroom like a puppet with its strings cut, silent and unmoving. Just as I was about to follow, I was seized by the arm. It was Lu Yuanji again. Tao Lele, I warned you to stay away from such people, he said, wearing an expression of self-righteous pity, as if he had foreseen this all along. Huh. I felt nauseated and spat at him. Lu Yuanji, was it you? My normally carefree self trembled with rage for the first time. Lu Yuanji's gaze faltered. How could I do such a thing? Besides, what is said online is merely gossip, Before he could finish, he clutched his swollen cheek, disbelief etched across his face. Tao Lele, you hit me for a rat in the gutter? I punched him again, and this time, he was utterly convinced. Lu Yuanji, shut your foul mouth and get lost. I will settle this with you later. By the time I bolted from the classroom, Shin Yubai was nowhere to be seen in the corridor. I called his phone, but it went unanswered. Pick up, Shin Yubai. I was frantic, like an ant on a hot skillet. The familiar barrage of comments returned, initially expecting them to be filled with insults directed at Shin Yubai and me, but the tone shifted dramatically. Tao Jia, I beg you. Just take a look at the child. I've made it crystal clear, Shin Yubai is out for revenge tonight. It seems Shin Yubai has gone dark tonight. He stabbed the male classmate who insulted Tao Jia, 2 dead, 1 injured. It's all those boys' fault. They were speaking filth about Tao Jia in the corridor. I'm ready to throw punches. I would lose 10 pounds just to help Shin Yubai take down those scoundrels. Please don't do anything foolish. Lock yourselves away together and live sweetly for a lifetime. I grew increasingly anxious, unable to contain myself, and shouted, Stop babbling. Just tell me where Shin Yubai is. I couldn't bear to watch him throw away his bright future. Suddenly, the comments fell into an eerie silence, a blankness lasting several seconds. Tao Jia can see us. She just shouted at us, asking where Shin Yubai is. I refuse to believe it. Tao Jia, if you can see him, give me a sign. My impatience reached its peak, and I responded with a 666. Hurry up, where on earth is Shin Yubai? In the alley behind the school. He was scheduled to meet at 6 o'clock, 1 against 3. I glanced at my phone, it was 5:54. Only 6 minutes left. Shin Yubai, you must be safe. I beg you. You're so intelligent. There's no way they'd lead you astray. Please hold on. I promise I won't hit you again. I ran as fast as I could, oblivious to the barrage of comments left behind me. Oh my gosh, I'm in tears. Redemption stories are my favorite. I declare. Tao Lele and Shin Yubai are the true protagonists. Agreed. By the time I arrived, Shin Yubai was already pinned to the ground by two boys, while another stood with his foot on Shin Yubai's head. Shin Yubai, weren't you supposed to be aloof? How does it feel to be treated like a rat in the street? The standing boy increased the pressure on Shin Yubai's head. I recognized him as Joshua, the foremost sycophant of the campus belle, Lin Maching. What makes you think someone like you deserves Lin Maching's affection? Do you know she was so furious seeing you kiss that idiot that she skipped dinner? The two boys holding Shin Yubai down eagerly chimed in, Big brother. I think that girl named Tao Lele seems quite interesting. We should bring her over to have some fun one day. Shin Yubai, who had been lying on the ground, suddenly became agitated and struggled, exclaiming, I will kill you. Laughter erupted, and Joshua kicked him hard. Trash. Your mother is trash, and so is the woman you chose. Shin Yubai's veins bulged on his forehead, his eyes bloodshot. Joshua, I will definitely kill you. He seemed to lose his mind, trying to rise from the ground. In his struggle, I caught sight of a fruit knife hidden in his sleeve. Shin Yubai, I shouted, grabbing a stick from the roadside and charging at Joshua, knocking him to the ground. How dare you mess with my Tao Jia? You should ask my fists if they agree. Do you even know Shin Yubai is my little brother? Tears streamed down my face from anger as I rained blows with the stick upon Joshua, intentionally avoiding lethal spots. Unprepared for my ferocity, Joshua was left defenseless, clutching his head and howling. The other two boys, taken aback by my sudden attack, were too afraid to retaliate. Just as they attempted to flee, I cornered them at the alley's exit. Nobody leaves today. One boy, undeterred, attempted to charge out, only to be met with a swift strike from my stick. They no longer dared to move. I pulled Shin Yubai up from the ground, dusted him off, and asked through my tears, Are you all right? Shin Yubai's face was bruised, his arms and legs scraped, and his new clothes were torn. He shook his head and wiped away my tears with his hand, managing a faint smile. I'm fine. Thank you, Tao Jia, for saving me. I cried even harder. What a time to joke. Infuriated, I struck each of the three ruffians once more. Sister, we were wrong. We apologize. What good is an apology? What do we need the police for? I said fiercely, still holding the stick. Terrified, Joshua suddenly had a clever idea and nudged his companion. Right. Let's call the police. Already done, Shin Yubai and I replied in unison. By the time the police arrived, the three boys were already battered and bruised, crying to the officers. We went to the police station together to file reports. I provided a video I had recorded at the alley's entrance, while Shin Yubai offered an audio recording hidden in his pocket. The police also reviewed the surveillance footage from the alley. Upon investigation, it was confirmed that the two photos circulating on the forum were posted by Zhao Shua, who had even rallied others to comment, manipulating public opinion. Zhao Shua then implicated Lu Yuanji. Officer, some of this information was told to me by Lu Yuanji, otherwise, I wouldn't know so much. Lu Yuanji was summoned for questioning. The school swiftly shut down the forum, punished all the students involved in the comments, and publicly apologized to Shin Yubai and me. Zhao Shua was sentenced to 6 months of detention for defamation and public disturbance and expelled from school. Due to a lack of substantial evidence and some maneuvers by the Lu family, Lu Yuanji was sent abroad for studies. Later, I heard he fell into drug addiction and became a wreck. Ultimately, my father used some of his financial influence to bury the matter completely. Early love? Impossible. Yubai is a promising student destined for Qinbei. How could I not know what my daughter is worth? With my parents unconcerned and my grades on the rise, the teachers found it difficult to voice any objections. The dust settled as if nothing had ever happened. That night, the moon was as round as my own face. Shin Yubai and I sat on the bleachers of the playground. He suddenly broke down, like a shattered doll. His sobs pierced my heart. I gently patted his back, reminiscent of how my grandmother used to comfort me. Shin Yubai, none of this is your fault. I'm sorry, he murmured, his head buried in his knees. I was the one who should apologize. I had brought him into this mess. I must be a disaster, bringing misfortune to my mother and you. Years ago, I told my mom I wished for my dad to die so that neither of us would have to endure beatings. I also told her I hated her for not taking me away. I ran away from home, and the very next day, something terrible happened. Lele. That day I actually had a knife hidden, intending to go down with Zhao Shua and the others, just like my mother did, risking everything to protect those I love. I was too cowardly and greedy. I thought of your smile and wanted to see your crescent-shaped eyes forever, so I reported it in advance. But I couldn't control myself. If you hadn't arrived in time, I might have truly attacked them. How could someone like me be worthy of being with you? This was the most Shin Yubai had ever spoken to me outside of studying. Yet, I wished he had fewer words to say. The boy before me laid bare his shattered heart, inviting me to heal all his wounds. Shin Yubai, I said, caressing his cheek to make him meet my gaze. His eyes were red, streaked with tears, silently pleading. My grandmother said one should learn to be magnanimous and not shoulder all the blame to live happily. You have no idea how remarkable you are. I know you risked everything that day to protect me. You're handsome and intelligent. Didn't Zhao Shua say the campus belle likes you? My mother always says, when choosing a husband, one must pick someone handsome and intelligent. So their children will be both good-looking and smart. I am not one for comforting others, and somehow I veered off track. Shin Yubai must have looked at me as if I were foolish. Perhaps the beauty of the night was the reason he kissed me. The instant our lips touched, I felt an electric shock run through me, a tingling sensation enveloping my entire being. 6 months later, Shin Yubai entered Qibei as the provincial top scholar, earning over 500,000 in prizes. As for me, according to the narrative of the novel, one ought to be driven by love, to toil diligently. And even if one cannot attain the prestigious 985 university, one should at least strive for a 211 institution. I regret to say that I have disappointed everyone, as my grades barely qualify me for an ordinary undergraduate program. My father, with great sacrifice, donated an entire building to send me abroad for my studies. On the day of my departure, I witnessed him embrace my mother at the airport, tears streaming down his face, as if I were embarking not for the beautiful country of America, but rather for a heavenly realm. You stubborn girl, your father urged you to study diligently. Yet you refused. Had you chosen to attend a university nearby, you could have returned home for meals and spent time with your mother and me. Alas, I shall become a lonely old man. My mother, initially shedding tears, felt somewhat embarrassed by my father's display and hastily adorned him with the sunglasses and mask she had prepared. She feared that the next day, he might make headlines. The agricultural tycoon Tao Kaisen weeps at the airport, bidding farewell to his beloved daughter, genuine sentiment or mere theatrics. Not far from the waiting area stood a masked youth, waving at me. He flashed the ring on his finger, and I reciprocated. On the day he gifted me that ring, he gazed at me earnestly, saying, Tao Jia, wait for me, don't you dare seek another little brother. A year later, Shin Yubai appeared before me as an exchange student. Lele, 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 he exclaimed, enveloping me in his embrace, repeating my name as if etching it into his very being. 6 years later, my father, once again weeping, escorted me to my wedding, and this time, it truly made the headlines. He placed my hand in the groom's, yet could not refrain from playfully striking me before the numerous guests. Stubborn girl, treating your father like a fool, concealing your relationship with Yubai for so long, making me think you preferred women. Oh, how embarrassing. My mother, mortified, discreetly pulled him off the stage. I lifted my gaze to meet Shin Yubai's fervent stare, unable to suppress my excitement. His tall, slender frame, broad shoulders, and well-fitted suit rendered him almost indistinguishable from one adorned in mere fabric. The long-awaited barrage of comments flooded the screen once more. Stubborn girl, do you understand? Allow me to perform a few episodes. This man seems a bit dubious. Why not come to my house? I'll help you verify his worth. I can't believe these two truly ended up together. How blissful. I would gladly be their wedding bed. I am the wedding bed. I consent to this marriage. I am the wedding quilt. I consent to this marriage. I am the undergarment. I consent to this marriage. I shall compete with you all, those of innate talent. At the age of 7, I could no longer endure my father's discipline, and during his afternoon nap, I ran away from home, only to be taken in by a kindly grandmother. She had a granddaughter nearly my age, with 2 little braids and cherubic cheeks. Their quaint courtyard was a veritable paradise, adorned with blooming flowers and teeming with chickens, ducks, and rabbits. Compared to my own home, it was like a slice of heaven. At dinner, the grandmother prepared a sumptuous feast, featuring braised pig trotters, chicken stewed with mushrooms, fried pork tenderloin, and delightful cold dishes. The little girl placed a piece of pig trotter on my plate, her eyes sparkling with joy. Big brother, you must try this. My grandmother's braised pig trotters are so delicious, you can eat 3 big bowls of rice in one sitting. She extended her chubby hand, forming a peace sign. Both the grandmother and I laughed. I spent 7 days at the grandmother's house, becoming the little girl's devoted follower. She appointed me as her little brother, vowing to protect me. I replied, "All right, Lele." The girl beamed, "Shinyubai, you are truly handsome. When I grow up, I will marry you." I wanted to correct her that boys cannot be wives, yet I found myself nodding, "All right, Lele." The day my mother came to take me away, Lele wept bitterly. "Shinyubai, you must grow up well and wait for me to marry you." I cried even harder than she did, "All right, Lele." I heard the grandmother soothingly say from behind, "Good children, don't cry. If it is meant to be, you will meet again someday." 11 years later, she reappeared before me, asking me to be her little brother once more. I replied, "All right, Lele. Grandmother, you were right. If it is destined, we shall meet again." I have married the boy I encountered at the age of 7. You have spoken of him for many years. Now you can rest easy, for he has grown well. I shall take him to see you. The end. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.